Well, hey, everybody, I'm Holly Mabery, and I am so incredibly excited to be with you today. I love the eXp Masterclasses because it gives us an opportunity to go a little bit deeper on subjects that matter the most to you and your business. And this is one that I crafted based on your feedback and your requests of what's going on in the market. How do I take care of my clients? How do I build my business? But also, how do I sustain that for the long haul and get those referrals? So what I want to do today is we're going to dive in to tips, tricks, and things that I've been using in my own business, as well as what we're seeing being modernized. A little bit of AI, a little bit of fun, and all in between. Sound good? All right, so let's market proof your business. At the end of the day, modern client care is where we're going to live, and it becomes so really important when we start to think about the basis of everything that we're at. 80% of clients would absolutely work with you again. In fact, NAR does a study on this every single year with the home buyer and seller survey. What's so interesting is buyers and sellers, they love and trust you. They believe in the value you bring to every transaction. Now, what's so critical here is you and I kill it. We knock it out of the park in our service, our follow-up, in that contract to close. We're doing all of the things. But as soon as we close, the buyers are moving in, the sellers are moving on to their next opportunity. But our follow-up, our opportunity to connect after the sale, we sometimes don't do our best. And as a result, many buyers, and we've been seeing this gearing up for 2025, those folks who bought in the last 5 years, particularly during COVID, they're looking to sell right now. About 25 to 28% of buyers during that time frame, homeowners, they're now ready to sell. And as a result, 80% loved us, only 12% actually end up calling us. They end up working with somebody new. Well, why is that? A lot of times it's because you and I are not following up. We're not asking for the business, or when they do see us, we're so busy that it's like, hey, so great to see you. And we keep moving. As a result, people don't want to bother us with what they think might be small or not meaningful questions. They don't realize that we want to work for them again. We loved that opportunity. So it's a constant reminder of how we show up, what it looks like. This is where that 100% growth potential, if you were to focus on everybody that you worked with in the last 90 days, the last year, the last 5 years, and you poured into them and you didn't spend any other money except on those folks and that lead generation, your business would just triple. And the reason I say that is I did that myself. What I found is by investing in myself and in my business, I was able to X factor, like 10X, what I was making because I invested in the clients who know, love, and trust me. Now, a lot of you are like, Holly, I've heard this before. I've been to other speakers. I've heard all of these things. Yeah, you're right, but it works. So let's break this down a little bit different and put a modern spin on it. In a shifting market, and that's really what we've been in. We saw the run up of the market coming out of the dark times, 2008, 2009, right? Yeah, I'm kicking it old school. I'm going back a bit in history. But what's important is we are in a shifting market. What we saw in the run up of the market in 2017, 18, 19, even going into 2023, there was this fervor and this craziness, and anybody could sell something as long as they had a license, and it was insanity. Now there's some stability coming back into the market. There's a shift. See, what's important now is people can get almost anything that they want online. They can Google it, they can go to Zillow or Realtor.com, they can look even on your website, your KV Core website, whatever you're using. But what's interesting is that ability to connect the dots and how you actually tell people what's happening in a way that's meaningful and personal. That's the secret sauce. See, whenever I got slow in my transactions, I did two things. If I wasn't closing a bunch of stuff, if I wasn't showing buyers, if I wasn't taking listings, I did two things in my business. I went and took classes. I took them. I usually traveled out of town. I know that sounds crazy, but I live in a small town. I would leave town and actually go to a bigger city or another city and actually take like my Graduate Realtor Institute, GRI, or Accredited Buyer Rep. I would go take these classes because I would sit in a class for a day or 2 days, I'd meet people around me and they'd be like, oh, well, hey, where are you from? I'd say, I'm just outside of Sedona, Arizona. Well, hey, I don't have an agent up in Sedona. Y'all, that's where I started networking and making connections for referrals across the state of Arizona. It was a game changer in my business. The second thing I did is I started calling my past clients, and I would start with the people that I hadn't talked to in 30 days. So if I just closed an escrow with, if I hadn't spoken with them, I'd set them up on an MLS drip campaign looking for something. I would just call them, thinking about you. How are things going? That's it. It was a very simple script because at the end of the day, I wanted to reinvest in those people who had invested it with me. So if I had closed a deal with them in the last 30 days, I was automatically calling them. If they had closed in the last 90 days, I'm automatically calling them. If they had moved, if they had sold, great. How's it going? What do you need? What resources do I have? Because I have a network across the state, across the nation. You become that lifeline of familiarity that they can't do without. See, they may need a plumber. And a lot of agents, this is what I find so interesting. A lot of agents, we get nervous that if we call and there's something wrong with the house, y'all, we put that rock in our backpack. And I would like to invite you to consider stopping. See, it's not my fault that the water heater went out 3 days after close of escrow. Water heaters go out. The timing is a bummer, but water heaters go out. Don't have a home warranty? You know what? We can get one. It's going to cost X. But oh, by the way, here's one of my favorite plumbers. Here's actually two if you want to shop price on different water heaters. If you want to go tankless versus regular. Those are things that you and I do in that lifeline. That's an amazing way to focus where you need support and helping others. See, the more you help, the more you receive. It's a different mindset shift. And when you start to look at how you invest in yourself, so many times it's picking up the phone. Now, that strategic follow-up, of course, is I always had to have a schedule. I always had to have something that was done for me because by nature, if I don't have it calendared, it doesn't get done. I'm just going to be honest right now with you all. Like I really work hard to be intentional about how I show up and what that looks like. And so that staying top of mind, I would use my CRM, right? My contact management system. And I would have it scheduled how frequently I'm to call people. What was so important about that for me is I am a list checker. That's my personality. I like to get things done. I like to feel it crossed off, like that sense of success. Knowing that about myself, that's top of mind. If I had 5 calls to make today, okay, great, of past clients, I knew I made those and I got to check them off and I put little notes in the CRM so it would remind me the next time I called them in 30 days, oh my gosh, hey, last time we talked, your daughter was auditioning for the school play, or your son was trying out for baseball. How did it go? Or, hey, I saw your son made the baseball team. All of those things that allow you to connect with people on that deeper level. Because at the end of the day, when you look at our business, we are so relationship based, how we show up, what it looks like, remembering those little things. My grandmother was a master at this. She ran the drugstore in our town. My granddad was the pharmacist and, did everything behind the counter. But grandma always knew when all the ladies' birthdays were. Very small town, right? Very small town. And so anytime the gentleman would come in, she would always make sure she had ordered their favorite bottle of perfume, or if there was a certain thing that they loved having. Again, small town drugstore, that's like where you go. You don't go to Amazon. This is back in the 50s and the 60s. What was so great there is grandma would always buy 2 of everything. And so she would make sure one was on the shelf and she'd hold one behind the counter. And so she would always know when it was so-and-so's birthday and the husband would come in and she'd be like, hey, I was thinking about you. And she'd reach behind the counter and she'd pull up the favorite perfume. Y'all, that was such a simple thing that allowed her to cultivate this entire community around their business. And it made such a difference in how she interacted that she was well respected, well known, but all the ladies knew that if they wanted something special for their birthday, they went and spoke to Pat. And that's just what happened. Now, I share that with you in staying top of mind. You and I now don't have to remember those things, or heaven forbid, put them in a Rolodex. I think grandma actually had like a spiral notebook she wrote things down in. You and I can do that in our CRM. We can actually automate it in such a way it reminds us. And sometimes the AI will help kind of generate, if it's crawling the web looking for certain people. Like I set up Google alerts on my sellers, on my properties, on certain things to make sure I don't miss anything every day. You can do those things. It helps you stay top of mind. Now, the other thing I will say about the CRMs is that consistency adds value. And think about it in terms of Starbucks, right? You and I can go to a Starbucks anywhere in the world, and we walk in, and the minute we hit that Starbucks, we smell the same smells, usually. And as a result, I know if I go in and I order an Americano with a splash of cream and cinnamon, it's going to be the exact same. Now, some of you may like a specialty drink. Like Lauren, our VP of Brokerage Ops, she loves a good chai. Loves her chai. But she'll do it with oat milk. Sometimes she'll do it with honey. But she knows if she goes to Starbucks, every single time it's the exact same. I share that with you because that consistency, creating value, that's why we'll pay $5 or $6 or $8 for a cup of coffee. Y'all, you can make it at home for pennies on the dollar, like Costco, the 3-pound bag for $11. Yeah, I get that. I make my coffee at home. But when I'm traveling, I splurge and I go get my favorite cup of joe. And it's usually an Americano with cinnamon and a splash of cream. Consistency creates value. So if you look at your business in those types of ways, it starts to matter. When we do these things in a shifting market and follow up every 30 days, what can people expect? Now, this is the thing. Your client's not waiting and it's like, oh, it's the second Tuesday of March. I know Holly's calling. They're not doing that. What they love is receiving a warm, friendly touch from somebody they know, love, and trust that took care of them. Now, this is what's so important when you start to think of your business and this investment. See, creating that lifeline for your business by calling those people who have invested in you, by buying and selling with you, maybe sending you referrals. You're staying top of mind by that consistency in your CRM, and also always making sure that you're planning in advance. How many calls am I making today? How many calls do I have to do this week? And by breaking it down, what does it look like? Do I have a database of 100 or thousands? Okay, great. Now let's talk about how we strategically get into that CRM in a way that's meaningful. I love this kind of breakdown. That 3 days after closing, I'm going to call and say, how'd the move go? Now, some of you are showing up day of move-in and you're showing up with pizza or, food or whatever to help them, like, oh my gosh, our kitchen's not together. I just need to move in and whatever. Cool. 3 days after closing, I'm calling. How's it going? What do you need? What questions do you have? Sometimes they don't remember how to work the thermostat. They don't know how to reprogram the garage door opener. Y'all, I don't have to know these things. I just have to put them in touch with the people to do that. And this is an easy way that 3 days after close, just a quick, how's the house, checking on you guys, anything you need. I'm not owning anything that went wrong with the house. I'm just here of service. Now, 6 weeks later, I love this call because they're settled. How's school? How's the new job? How's your commute? Have you found the dog park? Oh my gosh, my favorite Thai restaurant is just down the street. All of these things that maybe you talked about as you were looking at the neighborhood or making those connections. And this is where you can start to see, like, hey, we've decided we are going to change the flooring. We are going to paint. Oh my gosh, we're ready to do the backyard. Who do you know to help us with the sprinkler system? These are opportunities 6 weeks later to really start to invest. Now, this is after every closing, 3, 6, 12. I want you to plug in because it will automatically remind you no matter what CRM you're using. Now, let's pause there because I know some of you are like, Holly, I got a question. I feel it. What I want you to know is this. What's the best CRM? It's my favorite question. I get asked it all the time. Y'all, the best CRM is the one you use always. So as a result, when you start to think about where am I going to spend my money? What am I going to put my database into? It doesn't matter. It could be a Google sheet. It could be Google. It could be KV Core. It could be Follow Up Boss. It could be Chime. It doesn't matter. The one you use, the one that allows you to automate things in such a way that it works for your brain and your team or the people that you work with, that's the one you invest in. And I'll say this, when you go down this path, like spending more doesn't mean you'll get more. Spending what makes sense for the product that you use. And this is where you and I have to be honest with one another, because real estate is a $49.95 business, right? Every month we see that $50 go out of our bank account or hit our charge card. And what I found is, and this is a pro tip, it's not on the slide. I actually have a credit card that is for those monthly fees when I go to sign up on something. And so when those renewals come up, I can look at it and go, am I really using this? And I can cancel it. But I only put those reoccurring real estate fees on a single card, because if I don't think they're working for me, I see it every month and I can like kick it off. Now, back to the CRM. 12 months later, I love the Homeversary because this is an opportunity to go in and celebrate. Some people don't know how long they've lived there. Some people don't quite understand like what it was and what they've done. And this is where I love following up with like, just, hey, let's update you on what the market is doing. And right now we've been in such an appreciating market, especially the last 2 years. In my state alone, we've seen values go up, I want to say about 60% over the term from 2020 to today. 50% appreciation, which is bananas. So it's really important when you start to think about 12 months later, what does that look like for your clients? Have they gone in and they painted, or did they update the kitchen, remodel a bathroom, or add things to the backyard or front yard? All of those opportunities to have a conversation. Now, you may have some folks who moved in and have done nothing. Like the dust bunnies are still there. Okay, so that may become an opportunity of like, hey, I love like summer rainstorms where I'm at. I'll actually take video of the hail, especially if it's a crazy storm. And I will call those clients who I knew their roof was towards the end of their useful life, say, hey, I've got a video for you. This is something that I just shot at my house. I am getting a new roof and you might need it as well. That 12-month later opportunity to connect and be personal is so special. Please, please don't let that pass you by. Reminding people of what it was like to work together, how much you appreciated them. And this is the other thing, guys. 3, 6, 12, I need you to be asking for the business. That's the key. Every time you connect with somebody, remind them, I so appreciate getting to work with people like you. Do you know anybody else who could use services? Because I love working with people like you, and I would be honored for any of your referrals. It's such a smooth, easy transition. It's one of those that as you have these conversations and you're celebrating, hey, the new house, or gosh, you sold and then you got to upgrade, or maybe you downsized, whatever it might have been, that you got to be a little part of their life. And then you continue to celebrate with them in these new milestones of anniversaries and updates to the property. And you'll always be asking for the business, always be asking. Now, that strategic client segment, this is really, really important. And this is where you look at your CRM and you start to segment it out. Because I know some of you are out there and you're like, Holly, I've got 1,000 people in my CRM. Am I supposed to call 1,000 people every month? I can't call 1,000 people. Shh, I feel you. It's good. I want you to think about those people in kind of 3 buckets. And some folks, some trainers, you've heard they ABC their clients, right? A are like, these are the people most likely to refer you. They love you, do all these things. A+, they're sending you a lot of referrals all the time. B's, they would refer you, but they're not quite sure. C, maybe you just met them. You're still building a relationship. I kind of like the hot, warm, and cold. To me, it kind of made sense, right? Like that Goldilocks factor. Height, hot, these are the folks that are ravenous. They are your walking, talking billboards. They're so excited for what you do and the value you bring to them. But also they like the VIP service you provide. And what I mean by that is your high value touch points, right? Every time you call, you're sending articles that you clipped out of the newspaper about their kids, or your mindfulness practice with them. if you're doing pies at Thanksgiving or you're sending Christmas cards, all of those types of things, they respond really well to. These are your high value clients. They're always sending you referrals. They are actively, proactively looking at the marketplace and referring you. These are the folks you want to stay in contact with, I would say every 30 days. These are the folks that are your VIP special event kind of things. So if you're doing a client appreciation party, my gosh, maybe you have an early entry. Maybe you have a special thing like a special wine tasting. All of those things that make them VIPs. Now, the warm list, these might be folks that are, they like you. They're thinking about stuff. They like you a lot. They would probably use you, but they haven't quite gotten there. They're not quite ready to do a transaction. Maybe they're a friend of a friend and they're kind of feeling things out. Maybe they're on your MLS, right? You're sending them information. These are folks that you're contacting at will. And what I mean by that is maybe every 6 weeks, maybe they're on a newsletter, like upcoming events. One of the things that I love that people do, and in my area, second homes is predominant. It'll take people years to buy a house. The warm list is very common. And so as a result, we use kind of a newsletter that would go out and it would go to the warm list. And the warm list, it would be like, okay, quarter at a glance, don't miss these cool events coming up. We've got the wine festival on this date. We've got the beer fest. We've got, the Verde Valley Rally. We've got the birding festival. We've got all of these things, different weekends. And I lay it out 2 months in advance. And so that way people are like, oh, we should totally go visit. That's a great weekend. And then I'll have a little bit about what's been going on in the community, maybe some updates on new construction, and then some average sales. And then I'll have a testimonial or people that just moved. And it's like, hey, welcome so-and-so to the community. I'll have their permission to put it in the newsletter, which is kind of fun. It creates a little bit of FOMO, fear of missing out. Y'all, creating FOMO in your newsletter, like people are living the life you want to live, especially if it's a second home community, is golden. It's so much fun because now you're getting these newsletters, right? You're getting this email and you're like, oh, Holly just sent us a newsletter. Oh my gosh, Barb and Sam, they just moved to Cottonwood. That's great. Well, I want to be with Barb and Sam. I like spending time with them. Where did they move? What did they buy? Oh my gosh. And it's a picture of Barb and Sam. Wish you were here. I love those signs. Wish you were here, or just sold, or we're moving. Like all of those things create that FOMO that you're doing stuff, but you're that goodwill ambassador to your community. Now you can do that with people who already live here. And that's what's a lot of fun. Like sometimes being a tourist in your own town can be really great. People don't know what to take advantage of, even though they live locally. They don't know that there's a special Taco Tuesday event that happens at Chihuahua, right? Like you go down on Tuesdays and woo, it's big time. They don't realize that there's live music at the farmer's market every Wednesday. They don't get out in that way. And so that opportunity to showcase a local business coupled with a special event, now you become that ambassador of the community, and that warm list moves to hot pretty quickly. Now, let's go to the colds. The colds, maybe these are folks who contacted you on your website. They came through Realtor.com or Zillow. They're not quite sure. They're just testing things out. They're really good to put on a long-term mailing. I'll call them, right? I want to make sure that I'm following TCPA and the do not call registry. So I'm maintaining that consistency and follow-up. But this is the other thing I will say, 3 strikes and you're out. Like if you're not calling me back, or there's not some interaction where I know you're opening the email or you're opening my phone call or whatever, I'm probably going to take you off my list. And the reason I say that is if I'm investing time, energy, and effort and somebody's not responsive, okay, there might be a point where it doesn't make sense for me to continue, because then I start to also fall under like TCPA and canned spam. So really have some patience. I know for me working in a second home market, it was very diligent, mainly because a lot of my clients, they took 5 and 6 years to buy something. And so as a result, I would set them for success. How often do you like to vacation here? Would you like a list of recommendations of things to see next time you come? And so I would always try and have that as part of my CRM. Like, hey, Bob and Sally, they love to come in April for spring training. They do all of these things. And so I would put that out there. And so in January, February, I would send them the spring training schedule. They probably had it, but it was just the top of mind because we talked baseball. Those are things to be really strategic about. And that's where notes in your CRM are going to be a big difference. Now, some of you are like, Holly, I'm a single agent. I don't have time for this. I need to go be showing property. Totally agree. What I was a single agent, right? I did all of this, right? And so as a result, I would leverage my CRM. I would leverage my virtual assistant to set me for success. So everything was strategic and timed, because if I didn't have that, I was a chaos agent. Like I was just running in the streets saying, hey, you want to buy a house? You want to buy a house? You want to buy a house? Not effective use of my time or business. Hot, warm, cold. Understand what people are doing, what their needs are, and set them for success. But invest in your VIPs. Invest in those people who are top of mind, are ready to go and invest, but also are sending you referrals. And again, you don't know if they're willing to send you referrals unless you're asking for the business. Now, this is a strategy that is kind of more modern, and you're seeing a lot of really great agents do things, but I want you to be very intentional, because social media can become the 5-mile scroll, right? Like at some point, we're all going to be diagnosed with carpal tunnel for just doing this on our phones. I want you to think about Instagram, Facebook, and then Messenger, whether you're using WhatsApp or LinkedIn or whatever it might be. When you're on Facebook, like I'll go into Facebook first thing in the morning, and I usually do it at a certain time, and I'll look for certain things, and then I'll pop out. And then I'll go back a little bit later that day, because then the birthdays show up, and I will strategically wish people a happy birthday. I know I'm telling you my secrets. I'll wish people a happy birthday. And then I'll look later that evening and I'll say, okay, is there anything that I missed out of the day, that maybe somebody had something cool? Did somebody have a surgery? Did somebody's, pet pass away, whatever? I will say this: family, pet, whatever, send a personal note. Reach out to them directly. Send a text like, hey, I'm thinking about you. I'm so sorry for your loss. Make it personal. Don't put it on socials, right? Like the minute you step away and you do something directly, oh my gosh, that becomes a superpower. Y'all just stepped out and you're killing it. So spotlighting those client milestones in that way makes a huge difference. Now, the other opportunity is if I'm looking at my business page and how I'm connecting with people, I'm spotlighting things in the industry, and I may take a big concept and I make it local. There are things that come out from the National Association of Realtors, or maybe your MLS or your state association, heck, even headlines out of the Wall Street Journal. Make it local. Talk about, hey, this headline just hit. Let's talk about what it means to you. And this is where I love, like, if you're using Instagram Reels, oh my gosh, you got 90 seconds to throw the headline up behind you and really do something cool, but be specific. Talk like you're speaking to a really good friend about what it means to them and their family that is meaningful. Now, what I love about that and keeping it short is people are more likely to watch it. Oh, by the way, they're more likely to watch it in a place they're not supposed to watch it. So make sure that the closed captions are on it. Just pro tip. But in doing this, as far as your client connection, I'm only on social media those targeted times, but it feels like I'm everywhere. And that makes a difference. Now, there's a whole lot of AI that's come up around social media and taking content and resharing it across different platforms. I want you to use what is best for you. And what I so love is we're continuing to push out different AI and things like that. Jasper, I've seen some really good things about in that respect. But I want you to think about how you're using video, because what I found is when you meet people after you've watched them on video, the best compliment they can give you is, oh my gosh, you look exactly like your picture. I felt like I knew you from your videos. When you can actually convey your personality and connect in that way, it makes all the difference in the world. The other thing I will say on social media is break things down as far as, what does it look like to buy a house right now? What does it look like if I was going to sell? See, people who bought and sold pre-COVID, the world's changed. Y'all, the world changed last August, but that's a whole nother conversation that you and I have been having for a while. What's important here is how you and I break it down. And this is what I would suggest. You'll have content for days if you can break down the home buying process in 60 seconds or less for one singular thing. And what I mean by that is, if I'm going to talk to a buyer, I'm going to say, okay, these are 3 things I want you to look for or consider as part of your home inspection. I'm going to scope the sewer. I want to inspect what I expect as far as the roof and electrical. And I want to make sure that I understand everything around the neighborhood. What's important to me there? Am I in a airport district? Are they looking at rezoning? All of those types of things. Okay, I just did that in about 20 awkward seconds. You can go a little bit deeper and then say, hey, if you'd like more resources or to know more, I'd love to help. Just let me know. And you can have an autoresponder on your Instagram reel that says, hey, I'd like to, respond with 1 word, and I'll send you my information, or I'll send you this buyer kit. There's so many things that you and I can be doing, and it's all automated. So I don't have to be at the ready, sending stuff. I want you to think about your social media as an extension of you. And it's timed and strategic. You don't have to own it all the time. You can pass it off, but the more personal interactions you do makes all the difference. People remember that. They remember what it looks like. Now, I've said it a couple of times. We're going to ask for the business. I want you to think about every interaction you have as an opportunity to accentuate who you are, how you do what you do at such a high level, and reinforce it by saying, you know what? I love what I get to do. And if you ever think of somebody who could use the services I provide, it would be my honor to represent them. Super simple script. I would love to represent someone that would come from you. I loved working with you. That's a personal thing. It's a connection. So elevating that client experience, when you start to think about how you personalize and what it looks like, this could be as simple as handwritten notes and things of that nature. And guys, I did cheat. I will admit this right up front. So a few years ago, I had these note cards printed. My handwriting's kind of terrible. And so at the top, you can see it says actually my name. Now, why did I do that? Well, one, I wanted to be able to send notes like, hey, just saw your kids were in the newspaper. Congratulations on the spelling bee. I didn't want to put a business card in there. I just didn't, because it felt kind of smarmy. So as a result, I would just congratulate them, thinking about you, well done, whatever it might be. My name was at the top. They could actually read my writing, and I mailed it. And I've got them actually, obviously, sitting on my desk so I can send them frequently. What's important about this is it becomes a soft ask. I'm top of mind with my name. I'm top of mind with everything that I do. But my soft ask is, I would love the opportunity to work with you, or if not you, somebody like you. And always be asking for the business. Now, those timed requests, I'm not asking for business when I'm congratulating their kids on the spelling bee. I'm just saying, hey, congratulations, saw you guys in the paper. Here's the clipping in case you missed it. Those kinds of things make a huge difference. Also, it's not electronic. People are opening their mail over the trash can. I just did this morning. Opening their mail over the trash can, but if it's handwritten and there's something in it, ooh, that feels fancy. I'm going to totally open that up. So spend a little bit of money on some nice stationery with your name at the top or at the bottom, whatever makes you happy, and send it. It makes a huge difference. And that's where I would say, as far as timing your requests strategically, like I wouldn't ask for a referral when I send the note, but when they call me to say, oh my gosh, thank you so much, it was so great, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, I love thinking about you and your family. And I just so appreciate getting to work with you. If you know of anybody like you, I would love to provide my services to them as well. Smooth, easy. And that's the key in all of this. Now, the soft ask for referral really comes around that post VIP closing. How did I follow up? What did it look like? Did I tell them there was a VIP list? Did I let them know they were a VIP in my world? Y'all can do this in a lot of different ways. And I've seen some agents do some really cool things. They'll hold VIP client appreciation parties, and they'll have it all over social media. My VIP party. I wasn't invited to the VIP part. I want to be a VIP. They ate down to the red velvet ropes, like a red carpet, all of those things. So cool. It's a soft ask for the referral. Well, I'd like to be treated like that. How did they get in like that? They sent referrals. I love people's referrals. That keeps me in business. I love taking care of my great clients. And I love when I'm honored when they refer their friends and family. Next level. Now that's where you also continue to do your social media shout outs. And this is where I ask for a little bit of permission, right? Like if I'm doing stuff at a client event, I'm taking photos, I may hire a photographer. By the way, wedding photographers are great for this kind of stuff. Just totally serious. If you're in a small town like I am, I love wedding photographers because they're really good at getting people interacting and having a good time and all of those things. So much fun. Now, this is where I want you to lean into. What does it look like? And then you're putting it on social media and you're shouting out these clients and everybody that came and thank you for being a part of it. And all of your vendors that were a part of everything that you did, it makes a difference. I've seen some folks do referral contests. Like, hey, how many referrals? What I would appreciate here though, engaging people monthly. I just want to say thank you to the people this month that have helped build our community. See, make it more than about you and your bottom line. Make it about building your community. Because anytime you are solely focused on you and how much money you're bringing in, it doesn't sit well. How are you giving back? How are you building a community? And so a lot of times referral contests, think about it. And it's like, I love a referral contest when you go down the path of, we're going to build a community. How many people do you know you would love to have living in our area? I'd love to help them. Let's shout out how many people we can get to move here this summer. And will you be part of the madness? It could be so much fun. There's so many different ways to go down this path. Now, leveraging your existing clients, y'all, this is what it's all about. I was a single agent that basically worked by referral. That was my forte. Now, can you go out and buy leads off of Zillow and Realtor.com and all of that kind of stuff? Of course you can. And every business model is different. What I will say is, for me, I liked working with people I already knew. I knew I always had to be feeding my pipeline. So I was always reaching out. I would go take classes. I would network in different ways and ask for the business. But when you start to look at your existing clients, who do you know that should be living here as well? Living this dream. What does it look like? And can they find you easily online? And so this is where establishing your strategy around your business. Who are you leveraging? Do you have contractors you work with? Maybe new home sales, auto dealerships. I always worked with those folks. The Chamber of Commerce. I actually had a lady who worked at the Chamber of Commerce who was a client. She volunteered on Saturdays and Sundays. Well, guess what days I got the most phone calls from out-of-town buyers? Saturdays and Sundays. Thank you, Lois. And so those were things that I would always be taking care of her. If I hadn't heard from Lois that day on a weekend, I'd go take her lunch or I'd take her a snack or whatever. Hey, just checking on you. Is it been busy? Nah, it's been really slow. Okay, well, I'm around if you need anything. I'd always be checking in. Those memorable client experiences are so impactful. And we were talking about those VIP events. A book recommendation I have for you guys, if you'd like, is called The Power of Moments. What I loved about that book is it really crystallized for me how I could create magic out of a moment and really drive home my business and what was meaningful, creating those memorable client value propositions, right? And everybody's different. What I would be considering right now is there's a lot of folks nervous about the market. They're nervous about buying. They may be living with their parents. They may be having to move back in to take care of their parents. Okay, maybe you're putting webinars on around that stuff and it's on demand in your website. Maybe you're using it as part of your YouTube channel and you can invite people thinking about selling. These are things that we're going to discuss today that you should know. And I would always feature contractors or home inspectors, my lender, even my title and escrow officer. I didn't speak. I always had, when I did home buyer fairs, I always had other people talk and I was there just to greet and ask questions and provide snacks and introduce the next speaker. What was so valuable about that is I was able to create community in a way that was meaningful and people didn't feel alone. You and I get to do so many cool things that I want to invite you down that path together. If we build community in that broader sense, there's nothing you can't do. And the more meaningful relationships you have with those trusted advisors, your professionals, your CPAs, your attorneys, your surveyors, the septic guy. I mean, there's so many people. Think of everybody that you might have to call at a moment's notice, and how would you leverage and help support their business? And that's where I look at like everything from the local coffee shop to restaurants. How do I support their businesses? How am I giving them the shout outs that they deserve? Digital and in-person events, this is where the world is our oyster now, right? So the VIP homeowner, you could be doing webinars, you could be doing client appreciation nights like we've been talking about, market updates. I love the 5 strategic renovations to boost home value. My goodness, invite in and maybe do a webinar that you have a couple of different people and you're having this conversation on Zoom or something, and you do it in the evening or on a weekend, you record it and it goes up on your website. It's 20 minutes of awesome talking about what it looks like in today's market if you were going to remodel, put in new countertops, do a makeover of the kitchen. What does that mean? What are the costs? And so having those professionals talk about, this is what I'm seeing, these are trends, not necessarily only the color of the year, but you could go so deep here. The market update, y'all, I do these very, very swift and brief. These could be on your Facebook. These could be on your LinkedIn. It's like, hey, 3 things you need to know in today's market. And I go through like average price per square foot, how many new home permits have been pulled in the county or in this area, what we're seeing as far as land sales, and what you should be looking for this next week. And it's 60 seconds or less. So there's a lot of things that you can do. Now, if you're sending a newsletter, my favorite was always the cocktail stat. Cocktail stat goes out. The cocktail stat is like something that somebody can pull out of their pocket if they're at a party or especially around Christmas time. And they say, oh yeah, did you know this many homes sold in this area last year? People are like, wait a minute, that's a random, like, how do you know that? Well, my realtor Holly told me. I would always try and send a cocktail stat that was just meaty enough that people went, what? But not too long that they couldn't remember it. And doing those types of things, you become that purveyor of all that is awesome when it comes to real estate. See, they don't need to know more because you put them up and set them for success at a super high level. Now, that professional networking, I'm going to go back to LinkedIn. Financial advisors, your CPAs, estate attorneys, these are key as the market continues to shift. We're seeing the average seller go into their 60s right now, which has been pretty incredible when you think about where they're at in their life stage. Maybe they're moving back to be closer to kids. Maybe they are downsizing, all of those types of things. And so as a result, they need a good financial advisor. They need someone that is talking to them about, hey, I've got all this equity. What do I do? Where do I go? Or maybe they're looking at starting to sell rentals. Maybe they're looking at investing differently. Maybe they're pulling their money out of the stock market right now. And that's something we're seeing a lot. As a result, how they do what they do when they do it makes a difference. Your presence on LinkedIn and how you're connected with these people in your community makes a huge difference. And I would encourage you at least have a strategy around LinkedIn. Are you posting videos? Are you talking about what's latest and greatest? Connect with, and if you're going to do one of those VIP, like this is what you should know about strategies if you're moving money from the stock market into blah. Great. Maybe you have a webinar that you put together and you just do a Zoom and invite these 2 professionals to talk in general terms. It could be really, really special. And oh, by the way, did you leave your house? No. Was it easy to broadcast live? Absolutely. Can you break it down and get miles of content out of a 20-minute segment for a month? When you think about you doing something once and then repackaging it and repurposing it, that's how you and I can really leverage what we do and be of more value. Because sometimes people are like, oh, I don't have time for a 20-minute webinar. But 90 seconds, you have my attention because I'm waiting for the doctor to show up. Those are things to be thinking about in how you do your business. Now that CRM automation, I'm going to go back to it. Home anniversary, the quarterly check-ins, and that referral follow-up. Every time I got a referral from somebody, I would put that in my database. Referral, and then I would have a monthly countdown. And I had a huge whiteboard in my office. I still actually do. And I would look at it and it'd be like, okay, who sent referrals this month? How many have they sent? How many have closed? Because I would always send flowers to the people when I closed one of their referrals. I would set them for success and thank them at the time of the referral. But when it closed, I would remind them and say, I'm so grateful. The opportunity that you would trust me with someone you love, I'm over the moon. And we just closed on their new home. Those types of things, just that top of mind, repetitive nature. Oh my gosh, you guys, it makes a huge difference. By the way, the florist, I was such a good client of hers. I got to sell her house. Make friends, support the businesses, and keep going forward. And then also life events. One of the coolest things that I want you to think about right now is how many of your clients have someone in high school that maybe is a sophomore, junior, or heck, even a senior. A lot of our seniors have almost or hopefully made decisions on where they're going to go to school if they've got college plans after graduation. But heck, even if they're going to a trade school, many of the trade schools do not have on-campus housing. So I would always send letters, usually first part of Q1, January or so, saying, hey, I see so-and-so is getting ready to graduate this year. Congratulations. What great events you're looking forward to this spring. Also, depending on what their plans are post-graduation, I have a network of people that can help you, including down to student housing if they're not able to live on campus. Let me know. I've got people who can do what we affectionately call kiddie condo loans. Y'all, these are FHA loans that are so cool. The parent can co-sign. It's 3.5% down. The child qualifies. Child can rent out the other 2 rooms. It's a tax deduction for the parents because they're going to check on the child. It's amazing. Now, am I a lender? No. Am I a tax advisor or a CPA? No. So are you going to verify all of that? Absolutely. But I share that with you because those are the things that you could be offering of like, hey, thinking about sending your child to school and on-campus housing doesn't quite work. We have options. Let's talk about what that looks like for you. And it becomes one of those, especially if it is a sophomore or junior, parents are like, wait a minute, I can make an investment and this can build their credit. And then we have something when they graduate that they can sell and then go buy. Oh my gosh. So there's lots of opportunities there. That engagement plan for social media, please start to think about what this looks like. And I know we're in the middle of March, right? It's just after St. Patrick's Day. We're getting down to the wire closing out the first quarter. So what are you doing in April? What are you doing in May? The best time to plant a tree was 30 years ago. Second best time is today. So some of you are like, well, I need a social media plan that starts at the beginning of the year. No, you need a social media plan that starts next week. I want you to start next week, because when you start to think about how we go on that Monday morning, what does it look like? But in order for that plan to launch on Monday, I want you to be thinking about it today and start to look at your CRM. What can I do automatically? What can I do automatically that allows me to post where I like to post? Also, if you don't want to be that poster, maybe you just want to wish people happy birthday. Time block that in your schedule. 15 minutes, so you don't get sucked into the 5-mile scroll. Happy birthdays. And then I go back and I look for people who had an event that day. Surgery, birthday, dog passing, whatever. And I comment on it. And then I keep going. That proactive 15 minutes that you do as part of your daily routine makes a huge difference. It's funny. People do feel connected. They do look for the birthdays. They do look for photos. And this is where I would encourage you also to share. If you're on my Facebook or my LinkedIn, or I should say Facebook or Instagram, you're going to see some personal stuff. Yes, I share business because I'm so passionate about what I do, but I also love where I live. So this last weekend, I was out at the Sedona Mountain Bike Festival. I went to the festival. I got to ride my bike around, but I did not like race or anything crazy because that's like above my pay grade. But I got to see a lot of great things. And so I took pictures with family and I posted those. People want to feel a part of your life and that your life is not just business. So sprinkle in some of that personalization of what you love about where you live and what you're doing. People love that connection. And then, of course, you can always go back and do that analytics. If you post something, like I did a video on LinkedIn yesterday, I'm already looking at, okay, I've gotten this many views. How can I do it better? What would be better reach? I have a handout with it, like all of those things. Be meaningful and purposeful with what you post and why. It matters. And especially right now, because we are so spread out and we are such a global community in how we communicate. That's a good thing. And being here at eXp, you and I know it better than anybody that we can go to this next level. So let's talk about action items, because it's not a good masterclass if you don't have some takeaways. So let's talk about 3 CRM automations I want you to think about. I want you to strategize around the home anniversary, right? And you can go back to people in the last 3 years. Happy anniversary. I want you to do quarterly market updates, right? And this could be for people who are thinking of selling, or maybe you've sold and gosh, they've been in that house a bit. Let's give them market updates. And then a tiered referral appreciation system, right? These are your VIPs, your hot, warm, cold. These are the people that are referring you, love you, think the world of you. Those are your VIP access. What are you creating for them? And how are you appreciating them at that higher level? When you close on one of their referrals, are you sending them to dinner? Are you sending them flowers? Are you sending them a Starbucks? Like whatever it might be, how are you thinking of them and giving them appreciation? Also, before the end of today, I want you to look at your database. Who are 3 high-valued clients that you wouldn't be in business without? I want you to contact them. I want you to contact them by phone. Do it more directly. And then follow up with a note. I loved connecting with you. I was so glad to connect with you. Thank you for updating me on your family. And I'm always here. That makes a meaningful connection. And then do it again in 30 days. And finally, I want you to execute one soft ask. When you're having a conversation with someone, I want you to try it on for size. You know, I so loved working with you. If you think of anybody who's in the market that could use my services, I would be honored if you would let them know, send them my way. Or let me know how I can help them best. And this is where you have to teach people how to refer you. See, it's not good enough just to give somebody your name. You have to say, hey, I would love it if you would call me with their name and number so I can make sure I can take care of them with the same quality of service that you enjoyed. See, if I have their name from you, I know where it came from and I know how to take care of them. It also makes it more personal. Like this is happening, like it's real time. I'm doing the things, not a, hey, I gave so-and-so your name, but I think they've worked with Sally down the street. It doesn't work. So just be intentional about how you ask for the referral and then teach people how to refer you. It's kind of a magic sauce. Finally, I want you to think about that database is your gold mine. Everything that you have in it makes all the difference. So that top of mind consistency creates value is a huge, huge game changer. If you're in a market like mine where people take a bit to move here, they're pre-retirees looking to the future, how are you going to stay in contact with them? Ask them for permission. Tell them what you offer. And this is where like a simple MailChimp or a BombBomb as far as event schedule makes all the difference. And I know some of you are like, well, Holly, I don't know where to get all the events. Cool, Chamber of Commerce. Call the Chamber of Commerce, go on their website. They'll have things scheduled out and get from the different cities or locations around and put them all together. If it's a one-stop shop, oh my gosh, people love that kind of thing. Then I want you to think about how you communicate, making those referrals so natural that it just rolls off the tongue. See, if people are in conversation with you and all of a sudden you switch into script mode, whoo, that gets hard. And it sounds robotic. So I practice a lot. I practice in front of the mirror. I practice with my dog. I then weave it into conversations. And the more fluid you are, the easier it becomes. But the value's always got to be there. So it's that consistency in showing up, following up. I can't just ask for the business if I'm not giving something. And that give could be as simple as, hey, did you know, in a cocktail tip, this is the average sales in the last year or the last 2 months, or this is what you can expect. Building permits just went up by this much. All of those types of things people find value in, even if they're not in the market, because real estate's sexy and they like talking about it. So as we conclude, guys, I've loved spending the last 55 minutes with you. What's so important to me is that you take the time to work on your business. The systems that you create today will pay dividends years from now and will allow you to grow. And those automations also put you on autopilot so you're not struggling. When you think of throwing your business a lifeline, it's as easy as picking up the phone to past clients. If you're struggling in your business today, call 3 past clients. It'll be a game changer. Always be investing in those who trust in you. Always be following up, talking to them, meeting them for lunch. And the more they invest in you, the more you invest back. The most valuable thing you have at your fingertips is time and knowledge. If you share that, oh my gosh. And finally, and it's the hardest thing you and I will do, please ask for the business. If you and I ask for the business and we teach people how to refer us, to call us with that name and phone number, it's a game changer. And that will absolutely change the way your business grows, as well as the resource you become. Thank you so much for the last few minutes together. I've absolutely loved it. Guys, this will be on YouTube. You can come back and watch it. And of course, we've always got your back when it comes to new masterclasses. I'll see you soon.